why even draft Ted Ginn? I mean, he shouldn't even be on the board.
Ryan's in our division, correct?
Ryan is in our division. I actually play him week
Ryan,
one.
I don't know if you got enough ammo to compete, but good luck. We'll see what happens.
I think tomorrow's going to be a blowout, Ryan. I think I win by 30 points. I know that's being bold and cocky, but your team does not scare me, my friend. I don't like your matchups either. You play, Kansas City plays against the Ravens. St. Louis plays against Seattle. Bad matchups. You're going down big time. And your Seminoles suck. So enough about Ryan and his Seminoles.
No love out there, Ryan. Cheers to you, Ryan.
Yeah, cheers. Go Canes, baby. They're going to beat Oklahoma, too. I already predicted they're going to beat Florida State. They're going to beat Oklahoma as well without Sam Bradford. We move on to Jake the Snake.
One of your favorite people in the world.
I love this guy, not because he's my brother. Love fucking with this guy. Love picking on him because he's been in the fantasy football league from the beginning and consistently has a bad draft. And this year,
not this year.
This year, for those of you guys who were there, he was constantly, trying to get advice and consultation from the champion, and all the good advice that he was getting, he did not listen to you. Correct?
I think he still had a good draft.
Except for the Browns defense. You told him to take the Browns defense.
Well, I did tell him to take that, but I think that was more of a joke. But the Browns do have Joshua Cribbs on their special teams.
It's good for maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns.
But the Browns are going to, you think they're going to win tomorrow, so if they win,
that's my upset
it's
special.
going to be due to their defense, I think. So you're kind of contradicting yourself there. But let's look at his team. I mean,
Drew Brees, best quarterback in the league. I agree with that one. Fantasy football wise,
I wrote him the championship.
Frank Gore,
he's a question mark.
He's a question mark on that team. Brandon Jacobs,
I like him. Workhorse
should be a good pick. TJ should be a good pick. Antonio Gates. So your top 5 picks. After that, they get very, very questionable. After that, Jake the Snake, Lendell White. Horrible pick, especially in the 6th round. You could have had him in the 12th.
He had 15 touchdowns.
Not going to happen again this year. Antonio Bryant. Jeff Garcia's gone. He was his favorite target. Leftwich sucks. Gary Coleman lookalike. Not going to happen. Darren Sproles is not going to get many carries because my boy LT is going to score all the touchdowns. Derek Mason.
How old is he?
He's like 35, 36. They had to beg the guy to come back out of retirement. Joe Flacco could be, a decent backup for Drew Brees in case something happens with Drew Brees. Percy Harvin. Actually, Percy Harvin, and I had him on our steals of the draft as a top 10 steal. I think Percy Harvin could be a steal.
I think he'll be this year's rookie impact player, kind of like Steve Slayton and Forte was last year. So you could...
I don't think he'll be as big of an impact as Slayton and Forte.
I disagree. I don't know. It depends on Brett Favre.
Julius Jones, horrible running back. I would have taken Jamal Lewis out of Julius Jones.
I don't know about that.
No.
He was on the bubble as of Saturday.
Yeah, but
what does that tell you?
Mancini likes to run the ball, and in Seattle they're going to pass the ball more. And of course, I think the biggest surprise pick of the draft, we already talked about the Browns defense. Jake has improved every year. He went 7-7, so he was 500 last year. I can see him, because of his top 5 picks, I can see him being 500 again, maybe 6-8, maybe 7-7.
He could steal the division. It all depends on T-Mac.
No, because
Randy.
He's going to lose to T-Mac. He's going to lose to Randy. He plays those teams 4 times.
You're not giving him enough credit, I don't think.
7-7. Sad to my niece and nephew, by the way. We move on to, of course, the biggest trash talker so far this year in our fantasy football.
8-6, Jake. I didn't say mine.
8-6. All right, I'm sorry. TNT, which stands for Two Nut Tony, but we already changed his name to No Nut Tony.
There were several names going around.
Several nicknames. Tony was definitely the biggest pussy for not showing up at the fantasy football draft. Lame excuse, my friend. Larry Fitzgerald, yeah, he's the #1 receiver, but I wouldn't have taken him in the 1st round, the 7th pick. Don't like it. I do not like Steven Jackson, Tony.
I think that allowed you to steal D'Angelo Williams.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That might have been the key.
Kevin Smith plays for a bad Detroit team. Marshawn Lynch plays for a horrible Buffalo team. He's suspended for 3 games. Santana Moss plays in a boring Washington Redskins offense. You don't have any playmakers, man, besides Larry Fitzgerald. Riley White's going to be okay, but I think Tony Gonzalez, my boy, is going to steal some catches from him.
Did Dario have his eyes closed and just went like this and pointed to a player and that's who you picked? Because it kind of looks
Very disappointing because Tony has been one of the most consistent teams in our fantasy football league. And Tony, this year, I don't know what was up with you, man. I don't know if your boy, if Dario was making you put together Transformer toys, or your girl was making you do dishes or clean the house.
Might have not had his Nutella either.
Who knows what the hell? Yeah, what the hell?
Or he was thinking about cock the whole time, maybe.
Yeah, and that comment about you're gonna like come in our mouths.
That's too much homo talk.
Yeah, definitely way too much homo. Definitely HOMO with a capital H. Horrible draft. I think you're going to have a very disappointing year.
He's one of the weaker teams in our division, I think.
5-9, and I'm being generous. 5-9. Yeah. We move on.
Thanks for the donation, though.
Yeah, thanks for the $110 donation, man. We move on to Mark. Mark, welcome to our league. I'm not sure if you've ever done fantasy football before. Judging by your draft, it doesn't look like you ever did.
That's being a little rough on him.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mark. I don't even know you, but if you're a friend of Randy's, you're a friend of mine. Very, very shocked to see Phillip Rivers go in the very first round. I think he could have gone in the third round easily. You passed up on Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Aaron Rodgers to take Phillip Rivers. Yes, he plays in the weak division.
And yes, he had 37 touchdowns, but that was just one time.
Yeah, it was just one time. I think it was way too soon. Steve Slayton should be a pretty safe pick. Wes Welker in the third round. Again, let's see, it wrapped around, so he could have had Greg Jennings. So thank you, by the way, because I took Greg Jennings.
Tony helped you and Mark helped you.
You could have had Westbrook, Barber, a lot of good picks.
A lot of studs there.
Ocho Cinco should be okay this year. I like Greg Olson as your pick. Larry Johnson, 4 years ago, great pick, man. But the problem is this is not 2005, it's 2009. And the Kansas City Chiefs absolutely sucked this year. They're playing for the first pick in the 2010 draft.
All right. I'd have to concur on everything you say.
I think Hasselback's going to have a comeback year if his back stays healthy. Kevin Curtis, nothing really excites me about this draft.
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Mark, 4-10, my friend. Welcome to the league.
If you're lucky.
Last place in your division, 4-10.
I don't like to be usually that critical of someone, but
we move on to the guys that actually won money last year, and we start with the commissioner, myself, the Prime Timers. Every year I talk trash about my team, but I think this year I stole some guys. I couldn't believe I got Darren McFadden in the fifth or fourth round. What is this? The fifth round, Darren McFadden. I think he's going to be a top 7 running back. I got him in the 5th round.
Yeah, but he is on a crappy team. We've been ripping these other teams.
Yes.
He's on a crappy team.
But
he's in a backfield by committee also. They had Vargas and who's the other guy? Michael Bush.
But he's the starter, and they were the 3rd best rushing team last year. And they sucked last year too.
I don't know.
And this year he's a starter. I think he's going to catch 50 balls.
I think you definitely got him in the right spot, but I wouldn't praise him too much.
Okay.
All right.
Tony Gonzalez, you think, resurgence coming on a playoff team?
Okay,
Matt Ryan connection?
He's the #1 tight end still out there. I think you got 2 starters. I didn't understand that either. Would you care to elaborate on
Well, the reason why I did that is because I have a lot of buys in week 4, 5, and 6, so I might have to play 2 tight ends in 1 week. One is a flex. But my tight ends are better than some of these receivers. So Felix Jones, steal in the 9th round. He's going to be a starter before the year's over. Marion Barber will not be the starter by the time the year is over. Felix Jones is starter.
I hope you're wrong on that one.
Mason Crosby is going to be the first kicker in a long time to kick 60-yard field goals this year, which is we should get bonus points for 60-yarders. We'll talk about that. My prediction for myself, obviously, I think I'm strong. I'm going to win a division, even though I have a tough division. I'm going to say 9-5, maybe even 10-4. Your thoughts, prediction?
I think you're definitely a strong team.
Thank you.
I think.
Cheers.
I'm very scared actually this year. I talked a lot of shit last year, but we have Val, me, Ryan,
Tony.
and
well, I'm not worried about Tony.
I'm not worried about Tony. Michael can surprise, I think, but
no.
I'm not worried about him.
No, I think it's between me and Zach, basically, the 2 guys that are taping the